Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Tyler Ellison, and tonight I'm going to be bringing through Ryo, whom will deliver to all of you a transmission. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, and we'll get this started. It is our species' highest joy and passion to be able to interact with all of you through this particular channel. In this evening's transmission, we shall talk to you all about the idea of addiction, for this is a very common theme that many people on your planet are exploring, and we'll talk to you about why addictive patterns manifest and really what the benefits are of exploring this theme and transforming one's addiction into power. So, we'll talk about it like this. When you incarnate into the physical reality experience, many of you create the idea of a forgetting process. You forget your true spiritual identity. You forget the entire journey that your soul has been on. And you fall under the spell of belief, which is, this is the only experience that I am having. This is the only lifetime I have ever had, and this is potentially the only lifetime I will ever have. You also fall under the spell of the belief, that is, I am a limited being. I am a mortal being that was born and will die. What happens before, what happens after, I'm not sure. And this sense of being a mortal, temporal, limited creation, for many of you, creates within your hearts the sensation of emptiness. For this forgetting process really camouflages your true spiritual identity, which is not just the soul identity, but is also the source identity. For source itself operates from the frequency of completion. For it is all experiences being had simultaneously. So, source in that sense is everything unconditionally. Therefore, it experiences total unconditional completion. But when you forget your true spiritual identity and you fall under the spell of these beliefs, it can create the sensation of emptiness within you. It can almost make it feel as if something within you is missing. Now, this might seem like a rather negative thing. However, this is strategically done on purpose, which enables your consciousness to begin what is known as the hero or heroine's quest. Because when you forget your true identity and you feel within yourself that something's missing, it compels many of you to begin to explore your inner and outer realities on the path of self-discovery. So, when you forget who you are then encouraged to discover, to remember, to relearn who you really are. And you do that through exploring your purpose, through exploring the different themes that have to do with why you have chosen to be here in this incarnation. And as you begin to explore those different themes, you begin to awaken that God within you, that goddess within you, that source within you that does not forget who or what it really is, but has always known who and what it really is. And that then engenders the sensation of completeness. And that sense of there being a void, that sense of there being something missing, then begins to dissipate. So this void that many people feel, this sense of something being missing, if explored in a negative way, can inspire or compel someone to attempt to fill that void with anything. So, people will turn to oftentimes things that are hyper-pleasurable or are hyper-stimulating in an attempt to fill that void. But the idea is that this void is a spiritual type of void, and it's only a temporary void, because once you discover who you are, and once you really apply yourself to your life's purpose, that void begins to dissolve, because it's just an illusion. It's an illusion that is created as a side effect of you forgetting your true spiritual identity and that spiritual identity's underlying frequency of completion. But once that has been filled, that experience of a void or an emptiness begins to dissolve. But if someone takes that feeling of emptiness and explores it in a negative way, they will attempt to simply numb that feeling of emptiness or that void out, or they will attempt to distract themselves from it, or perhaps they will attempt to even fill it with things that are not designed to do any of that. For example, they may turn to drugs, they may turn to gambling, they may turn to sex, they may turn to things that are not negative, things that are neutral, but they will turn to them in a negative way, in an attempt to fill some type of illusory deficiency. So, when an individual truly applies themselves to their life's path, to their themes, they begin to remember that true source self, that fundamental self, and they will begin to experience the idea of a feeling of completion, a feeling of peace. And this will not mean that their path of discovery or exploration ends. It just means that the motivating energies behind the exploration will begin to change. Instead of exploring because one feels empty, one will begin to explore because they feel curious. Whenever an individual is spending energy on addictive patterns, they are essentially depleting themselves. They are taking energies that could be positively multiplied by exploring their true path, and they are instead leaking those energies into the idea of an addictive pattern, an addictive behavior. So oftentimes when people feed into their addictive patterns, they begin to feel powerless. They begin to feel as if they're unable to actually step outside of that pattern. And the reason they feel powerless is because the behavior itself has become somewhat parasitic. Whenever you feed your energy into a pattern of behavior again and again and again and again and again, within your subconscious, you begin to form what you might call a complex or some type of thought form. And let's say, for example, you are feeding positive energy into a very positive direction, and you're making decisions based off of that positive energy. Thought forms will form within your subconscious that you might translate as beneficial thought forms. And these thought forms begin to take on personas. And once the thought form is developed enough, it actually becomes a type of muse or a type of guide that is designed to assist you in exploring that positive direction. The opposite can also take place. Whenever a person is spending their energy in a negative way, a type of negative complex or thought form will be created. And that thought form, once it reaches a certain level of empowerment, will possess qualities of intelligence that encourage the individual to continue to deplete themselves through their addiction. This thought form may encourage people to really dive headfirst into that abyss that is the addiction. And that thought form may attempt to talk them out of removing themselves from that parasitic dynamic. As an individual begins to awaken from this hypnotic sleep that is the addiction, they will be then in a position where they can begin to withdraw their energies from that addictive pattern, and they can then spend those energies in a way that is truly uplifting. For if an individual finds that they are in a cycle of addiction and they recognize that they don't have to be in that cycle, that they can actually step outside of it, then the idea is that that thought form entity in that moment begins to lose power. They're taking their power away from that thought form, from that pattern, and now they have freed energy up that they can then use. Should they spend that energy in a positive way, by exploring their themes, by exploring their purpose, by discovering themselves, then that negative energy will transform into positive energy, and they will acquire all types of hidden power. And what we mean by this is an individual who is in a state of powerlessness because of an addiction is using their power to create that experience. But they're unaware that they're using their power to do this. So to them, their very power is hidden. But once they have withdrawn energy from that addictive pattern and have then spent that energy in a positive, uplifting way, they will reveal to themselves through that experience the power that was there within them all along. And they reveal to themselves hidden powers, hidden abilities, hidden properties that are of the individual's true nature. And this will start to reveal to the individual different clues and different insights that allow for them to more greatly understand who they are, what their purpose is, and why they are here. In relationship to manifestation, when individuals spend their energy in a parasitic way, in a way that feeds addictive behaviors, they end up creating a barrier or a boundary around themselves that sort of separates them temporarily from the experience of the bigger picture of life. They have sort of exchanged that all-encompassing perspective of connectivity for the idea of a limited perspective of separation and isolation. And whenever this happens, whenever an individual puts those types of barriers or boundaries up, they cut themselves off from the delivery services of desired manifestation. So, when people are wrapped up in these addictive patterns and they're trying to manifest certain things for themselves, be it money, be it a lover, be it positivity, be it a new experience, those things they're summoning are unable to get to them. These barriers that the addiction puts up sort of prohibits these manifestations from actually being able to reach them. But as an individual begins to withdraw themselves from the addictive pattern and begins to apply their energy in a positive way, those walls begin to crumble. And as they crumble, the doors open, so the delivery service of the desired manifestation can actually reach you. So, letting go of addictions are a way that you can reclaim or rediscover your true power. Letting go of your addictions is a way that you can discover more of yourself. And it is also something that can be done that allows for you to accelerate the speed of manifestation delivery. Now, when someone is going through the theme of addiction, there is, let's just say, the light version of that theme that they are also simultaneously exploring. Think of the addiction as the shadow dimension of the theme. The light dimension of the theme is the theme of healing. So healing and addiction really are two sides of the same coin. As an individual begins to withdraw themselves from the addiction and applies their power, their energy in a positive way, they will simultaneously begin to experience the phenomenon of healing. And this phenomenon of healing can be highly educational, for it can show these people who overcome their addiction how they can be of service and how they can actually help other people to overcome not only addictions, but other challenges that people go through in the physical reality. So, when an individual is dealing with addiction and they are wishing to remove themselves from that experience and they are wishing to transform that addictive energy, it's important that they begin to learn about the theme of healing. Healing involves many different paths and many different topics, but in general, the path to healing involves healthy eating, time outside, healthy sleep, exercise, detoxification, spirituality, and community. These are the 7 major things that encompass an overall healing experience. When these 7 things are in place, an individual is able to very quickly transform the negative energies and the feelings of emptiness that have engendered the addiction. And it allows for one to discover that hidden power that they've actually been using the whole time to create the addiction. And as they discover and reclaim that power, they will then feel the intelligence behind that positive power, which will inspire them to discover themselves, to walk their path, to be who they are. And as they discover themselves and as they walk their true path, their true spiritual identity will reveal itself to the individual. So, there's much more that could be said about this theme of addiction and why people explore it, but we wanted to give you these ideas this evening so you could have a starting point here, so you could understand this theme perhaps with more clarity, because we know many of you have dealt with addiction, and we know that many of you know people who have gone through addiction. So understanding what's happening mechanically may make it easier for you to be of assistance to yourself or to be of assistance to other people. So we thank you all so much for listening to this transmission this evening, and as always, our species' unconditional love and appreciation to each and every single one of you. Okay, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will talk again soon. Bye-bye.